Zidane's Champions League masterpiece, May 15th, 2002, Hampden Park, and Real Madrid are tied 1-1 in a Champions League final they were supposed to dominate. That Galactico squad had Figo, Roberto Carlos, Raúl, and Zidane, the one with the most expensive transfer tag in the world at the time. They were chasing their 9th European crown, but Bayer Leverkusen, they didn't care about Madrid's legacy. They'd already knocked out Liverpool and Manchester United, and now they were pressing hard. Then came the moment. Roberto Carlos whipped a looping cross into the box. Weird height, awkward spin, bouncing high like it wanted no part in being controlled. Zidane waited, watched it float, then caught it first time with his left foot, his non-dominant foot, straight into the top corner. That ball didn't roll, it exploded. It was pure technique, no power hack, just timing, balance, and poise under pressure. You could hear the stadium gasp before it roared. That goal won the final. Zidane's only Champions League title as a player. The guy who already had a World Cup and Euro medal now had the full set, and one of the greatest goals in UCL history to seal it. Messi's silence in Bernabéu. By the 92nd minute, the Bernabéu had been through chaos. Goals, cards, flying tackles, classic Clásico energy. Sergio Ramos had already seen red for a wild two-footed lunge, and Messi had taken an elbow to the mouth earlier that left him spitting blood. But he stayed on, quiet, focused. The game was 2-2 and Barcelona needed a win to stay alive in the title race. Madrid were top of the table with a game in hand. A draw would have kept them in control. Then came the final sequence. Sergi Roberto launched a counter straight through the spine of Madrid's midfield. Jordi Alba squared it low across the box, and Messi, arriving with perfect timing, guided it home with his left. What happened next turned into a global headline. Messi stood near the corner flag, lifted his shirt to the crowd and held it out like a trophy, his name facing them, his face stone cold. In that moment, you could have heard a pin drop in the Bernabéu. It was goal number 500 for Barcelona, delivered in injury time, in Madrid, against their biggest rivals. The kind of goal that made highlight reels feel too short and the kind that fans still argue about years later. Agüero's 94th minute title snatcher. The Premier League script on May 13th, 2012 was already spiraling. Manchester United had done their job at Sunderland. Their fans were waiting on the final whistle at the Etihad, hoping QPR of all teams could hold City just a little longer. Then, chaos. City were down 2-1, into stoppage time. Roberto Mancini looked like he was aging by the second. Jacob pulled one back in the 92nd and suddenly belief flickered, but they needed one more. Carlos Tevez slipped the ball to Mario Balotelli, who lost his footing, but somehow poked it forward while falling. The ball rolled into Agüero's path, and in that split second, the entire stadium held its breath. One touch, bang, near post, net rippled. Cue an explosion of limbs, noise, and Mancini sprinting down the touchline like a man possessed. It was the 94th minute, final day, title on the line, and Agüero delivered the moment of the decade. That goal became a statue, a mural, a memory stitched into football forever. Gerrard's last-second lifeline. But before we get into him, hit that like button and subscribe so that the video can be pushed to more people. Thanks. Now moving on. The 2006 FA Cup final looked like a West Ham heist in progress. Liverpool were wobbling, own goals, defensive errors, and a goalkeeper with hands made of fog. It was 3-2 to the Hammers deep into stoppage time, and Anfield Hearts were already in post-mortem mode. Gerrard had cramped up moments earlier, could barely jog, looked like he might be subbed off. But when that loose ball rolled out 35 yards from goal, he didn't think, he reacted. Right foot, straight through the middle, like a cannon. Xhaka Hislop didn't even move. The ball dipped, swerved, and slapped the back of the net like it was offended. The stadium went from despair to disbelief in 2 seconds. It was the 90th minute and Liverpool were level, again. Gerrard was the emergency fire escape, the ambulance, and the final prayer. The match went to extra time, then penalties, and Liverpool walked away with the trophy. Girtzers extra time World Cup winner. By the 112th minute, the World Cup final was running on fumes. Both teams were grinding. Messi had missed his window, Higuain had already wasted a sitter, and the game was starting to feel like a penalty shootout waiting to happen. Then Germany made a switch. Off came Miroslav Klose. On came Mario Götze, 22 years old, sharp haircut, and barely used all tournament. Joachim Löw walked over and dropped one line. Show the world you're better than Messi. No pressure. 7 minutes later, Andre Schürrle tore down the left and floated in a high looping cross. Götze met it with his chest, clean, soft, controlled, and without letting it hit the ground, pinged it into the corner with his left foot. It was smooth, surgical, and completely out of nowhere. Argentina froze, the Maracanã erupted. Germany were world champions for the 4th time, and Götze, the forgotten sub, had just delivered the title. That goal ended the dream for Messi at the time. It gave Germany its first title since reunification, and it made Götze a national legend in under 5 seconds. Van Persie's Flying Dutchman moment. Spain walked into the 2014 World Cup looking like a dynasty. Back-to-back Euros, a World Cup title, all the possession in the world, and 27 minutes in, they were already up 1-0 on the Netherlands, textbook penalty. David Silva missed a second, everything looked normal. Then Daily Blind spotted Van Persie making a run. From his own half, Blind launched a pass that dropped from the Brazilian sky like a satellite. Van Persie didn't wait. He threw himself forward, arms wide like a missile in a diving pose, and head-butted the ball over Iker Casillas with such precision it could have been GPS tracked. It was 1-1 and everything flipped. The Dutch bench went crazy. Van Gaal almost smiled. And that header? It became a meme before it hit the net. People were calling it the Flying Dutchman before the replays even finished. The Netherlands didn't stop. They scored 4 more. The defending champs got dismantled 5-1 in their opening match, and Van Persie's goal became the poster for the collapse. Edidas bolt. France were the hosts, the favourites, the party planners, and for 109 minutes in the Euro 2016 final, they were circling the champagne. Portugal had already lost Cristiano Ronaldo to injury early in the match. The captain was on the bench with a knee wrapped and tears in his eyes. But the game kept dragging. Extra time, still scoreless. And then, Ida got the ball. Most fans were still checking the clock, mentally preparing for penalties. Ida wasn't. He muscled past Laurent Koscielny just outside the box, looked up once, and fired a low strike toward the far post. It curved with just enough venom to beat Hugo Lloris, and the net rippled like it had been waiting for something dramatic all night. Suddenly, the entire Portuguese bench exploded. The guy who hadn't started a single group stage game had just ripped the roof off the Stade de France. Ronaldo hobbled onto the pitch like he'd found a second career in sideline coaching. Fireworks went off. History got rewritten. Portugal were champions of Europe for the first time ever. No golden generation, no Ronaldo on the field, just Ida, a sub with a right foot and no fear. And that was all they needed. Company's long-range title rocket, nerves were everywhere. Manchester City were 1 win away from keeping Liverpool off the top of the table, but Leicester weren't making it easy. 90 minutes of sideways passing, Pep Guardiola pacing like a man walking across a minefield. Every City player had their chance, all except one, Vincent Kompany. By the 70th minute, the crowd was begging him not to shoot, literally shouting, "No!" from the stands. Kompany had never scored from outside the box in his entire Premier League career. That didn't matter now. He took one look, cranked back his right foot, and smashed a 30-yard rocket that swerved into the top corner like it had a destiny of its own. The Etihad went full earthquake. Guardiola dropped to his knees. The captain had just delivered the title race moment of the season. That goal beat Leicester, kept City ahead of Liverpool by a single point, and sealed their second straight league title just days later. Kompany walked off the pitch with the stadium still buzzing and teammates still laughing at the fact he had been the one to do it. Last home game, one swing, one title-defining thunderbolt. Iniesta's strike. The 2010 World Cup final was less tiki-taka, more Mortal Kombat. Spain vs Netherlands turned into a yellow card festival with flying kicks, shirt tugs, and Howard Webb dishing out warnings like candy. By extra time, everyone looked exhausted, except Andres Iniesta. With 116 minutes gone, Cesc Fabregas threaded a pass through the middle. Iniesta timed his run perfectly, took a touch, let it bounce once, then hammered it past Martin Stekelenburg with his right foot. Clean, low, clutch. Spain erupted. That goal broke a 0-0 deadlock in the most bruising final in years. It handed Spain their first ever World Cup title. From generations of heartbreak to world champions, all in one swing. Iniesta ripped off his shirt and revealed a tribute to Dani Jarque, his friend and former Espanyol captain who had passed away the year before. The moment was pure. Celebration, emotion, and history folded into one. Ronaldo's bicycle kick. Turin had seen Ronaldo before, but no one there expected to applaud him, especially not after what he did on April 3rd, 2018. Real Madrid were already up 1-0 on Juventus, but then Dani Carvajal floated in a cross that looked too high, too far, too hopeful. Not for Cristiano. He took off like he had invisible trampolines in his calves. The hang time was cartoonish. His right boot met the ball at shoulder height, maybe someone else's shoulder, and the bicycle kick snapped into the bottom corner. Gianluigi Buffon didn't move. The stadium didn't boo. It paused, then clapped. Juventus fans stood, applauding a man who just humiliated their defense in slow motion. Even Ronaldo looked stunned. He gave a nod, raised his hand in thanks, and for a second it felt like a tribute match instead of a quarter-final. That goal made it 2-0. Real would go on to win 3-0 and knock Juventus out over 2 legs, but everyone remembers that overhead finish. Ronaldinho's impossible free kick. The build-up to this match was all Beckham, all England, quarter-finals, sweltering heat in Shizuoka, and one of the tournament's most hyped showdowns. England struck first. Michael Owen pounced on a mistake. Suddenly, the Samba boys were chasing. By halftime, Brazil had equalized through Rivaldo, assisted by a slick Ronaldinho run. Then came the 50th minute. Ronaldinho stood over a free kick, way out, nearly 40 yards. Wide right, too far for a shot. Everyone expected a cross. Even David Seaman was squinting into the sun, adjusting his wall. Ronaldinho floated it, high, slow, looping like it was drifting off course, until it wasn't. The ball dropped behind Seaman and into the top corner. Cue Brazilian chaos, cue English disbelief. Seaman's ponytail slumped before he did. Commentators couldn't decide if it was a masterpiece or a mishit. Ronaldinho didn't flinch. He raised his hands and smiled like he meant it all along. The goal made it 2-1. Brazil held on, even after Ronaldinho saw red later in the match. That strike knocked England out and sent Brazil flying toward title number 5. Drogba's header and the icy finish. Chelsea weren't supposed to be in that final. Suspensions, a shaky season, and a caretaker manager on the sideline. And yet, there they were, in Bayern's backyard, underdogs in their first Champions League final since 2008. It wasn't going great. Bayern were peppering Peter Cech with shots. Thomas Müller finally broke through in the 83rd minute, and the Allianz Arena went full volume. Bayern fans could already smell the confetti. Then came Drogba. 2 minutes later, Juan Mata stood over a corner, Chelsea's first of the match. He whipped it in. Drogba shrugged off his marker and powered a header that curved through the air like a missile. Neuer got a glove to it, but it still hammered into the roof of the net. 88th minute, game tied. Drogba's celebration said it all. Arms wide, face locked in focus. He wasn't done. In extra time, he conceded a penalty, but Cech saved it. Then in the shootout, guess who stepped up for the final kick? Drogba rolled it in. Calm, cold, iconic. That header saved the game. That penalty sealed the title. Chelsea were finally European champions, and the man who carried them for a decade had delivered the trophy himself, on enemy ground. Bergkamp's 3-touch masterclass. 3 minutes left. The score was locked at 1-1. Argentina were pressing, the Dutch defense was starting to creak, and everyone in the stadium was preparing for extra time, except Frank de Boer. From deep in his own half, de Boer spotted Bergkamp making a run and launched a 60-yard diagonal pass. Not hopeful, measured. Bergkamp's first touch? Unreal. He killed the ball mid-stride like he had a velvet boot. The second touch flicked it inside Roberto Ayala, Argentina's best defender. Third touch, boom. Outside of the right foot, top corner. Net bulged. The stadium erupted. It all happened in about 4 seconds. 3 touches, 1 World Cup semi-final ticket booked. Bergkamp took off toward the corner flag, arms flailing, face locked in ecstasy. The Dutch bench lost it. Commentators hit the volume ceiling. That was a masterclass in control, timing, and execution under pressure. One of the cleanest finishes in World Cup history, delivered with the composure of a man tying his shoes. Quite some goals, right? Anyway, which of these goals would you want to relive? Drop your pick in the comments, leave a like, and subscribe for more videos like this one.